啊，那个等到最后我们讲那个地藏赞的，给他们看一下，到时候再讲。好，阿弥陀佛，我们现在要开始请法，由我们的这个清凉师来请法，他很难得的从马来西亚来，出家也蛮久了，然后难得的菩萨算菩萨请法，老菩萨请法。
恭请大德圣听，为此法会及一切众生，请赞妙法轮教导我们如何了生脱死，离苦得乐，殊胜无生。 the Sangha with great virtue out of compassion. For the sake of this assembly and all living beings, please turn the wonderful Dharma wheel to teach us how to leave suffering and attain bliss and burn birth and death and quickly realize non-birth.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfect enlightened one.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Namo Sadanto Suceto Ye Arahati Samya Sambuddhase.
Namo Sadanto Suceto Ye Arahati Samya Sambuddhase.
开经记，大家一起念：无
上甚深微妙法，百千万劫难遭遇。我今见闻得受持，愿解如来真实义。Supreme and wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound, rarely is encountered even in a billion eons. But now we see it, hear it, and accept it reverently. May we truly understand the Buddha's actual meanings.
诸佛菩萨、天公上人以及在座的佛友，还有我们线上的佛友，大家晚安。今天是11月19号，礼拜六，在Berkeley 这边到场来跟我们来讲无量寿经，还有分享其他的一些法。然后我们会在9点多的时候来结束。
Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, Venerable Master Hua, Buddhist friends, both online and present at the Way Place. Today, November the 19th, Saturday, we're here once again picking up our study of the Sutra of Limitless Life. We shall go through more of this sutra today and concluding at 9 o'clock as usual.
好，我们之前呢，我们来念几声佛号，念南无阿弥陀佛圣号，来把心静下来，也同时把阿弥陀佛来到我们心中，这样子。
We shall begin by reciting the Buddha's name and to calm our mind and also invite the Buddha.
好。南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿 阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛。线上有经文吗？有，可以看到经文吗？啊，我们这个经文。好，阿弥陀佛。我们晚上讲《无量寿经》是从124页的下面的部分，然后接着我们会在126页的上部分这样子是今天我们的讲经的这个经文部分。我们中文也英文，我们会中文念一遍，英文念一遍。
We continue our study of the Sutra, starting with page 124 at the bottom, and then continuing on 126. We shall begin by reciting the Sutra first in Chinese, followed by English.
好，我们大家一起来念，因为我们节省时间。我们从124念到126，我们今天要讲的部分，念完中文，我们再来念英文。
Together.
好，世间人民、父子兄弟、夫妇家室、中外亲属，相敬爱，
无相正直，
有无相通，无得贪习，颜色常和，莫相违律。好，126页的后时新增，有所畏怒，今世恨意，威相将及，后世转机，至成大愿，所以解惑，世间之事，更相患害，虽不及时，应即相破。然独触怒，皆愤精神，自然克实，不得伤离，皆当对生，更相报复。好，英文 ，OK， English.
In English, in this world, parents and the children, siblings, husbands and wives, as well as distant relatives, should have mutual respect and love for each other. Do not harbor hatred and envy towards one another. Those who have wealth should share what they have with those in need. Do not be stingy. Always speak with kindness and have a gentle expression. Live harmoniously with each other. When conflict in the heart turns to anger, it can manifest in this life as frustration or jealousy. However, in a future life, it can intensify and become vengeance. What is that? Harm inflicted in this world often does not get immediately resolved, but instead leads to poisonous feelings, resentment, and hatred that become etched in their hearts. which they cannot let go. In the future, when they meet those who harm them, they seek revenge.
好，我们来做简单的解释一下这个经文。这个部分呢，他说124页的这个下面部分，就是说世间的人民，父子兄弟啊，夫妇家事啊，中外亲时，应当相敬爱。也就是说，我们现在世间的人民，因为这个是佛释迦牟尼佛跟这个弥勒菩萨来讲话的。他说现在这个世上的人们这个父亲子女呢，兄弟夫妻还有家事的人呢，家里的人呢，还有里面外面的亲属呢，都应该互相来敬爱。
We continue where the Buddha was holding a conversation with Maitreya Bodhisattva, and we get to the point where discussion about relationship and how we should conduct ourselves amongst people who are related to us or who are close to us or we run into. The overall admonition from the Buddha is that doesn't matter who we come into contact with or whether we're related to them, we shall always respect and love them so that we establish the correct kind of karma.
好，下面经文呢继续讲呢，无相真寂，有无相通，无得贪喜，颜色常和，莫相为类。就是说，我们世间的人民呢，不可以互相的来憎恨、嫉妒就应该有无要来相通啦，不要来贪图这个吝啬这些的，在语言上呢都要保持的非常的和气和平，不要来互相来相违背这样子。
That in our dealings with other people, we shall never harbor hatred and jealousy. Instead, we should always seek mutual understanding and communication. Certainly, we shall never be driven by greed and plotting or stinginess. Our words and even our facial expression should always maintain harmony. We shall try our very best not to conflict and contend with each other, leading to conflicts.
好，在下面我们是126页开始的，这个呢，他讲后时心增有所恚怒，今世恨意为相增计，后世转计自成大愿，所以者何？这个是一个来问这个问题，就是说我们一时呢，心里面呢，可争就是一时来口头上来竞争呢，然后呢所有的这个算嗔怒呢而起，那我们今世的一些恨意呢，只是微微的来互相来憎恨可是呢积到后面呢，后世就是我们今后，不是今世，后世呢会加计，然后呢加计成一个大的业呢， 以埋怨啊，怨成了大怨啊，大的埋怨啊，是什么原因呢？他这个就是在问这个是为什么会这样子
Things can start small, starting with, in our mind, we conflict with someone and expressing it as anger. Carry through from one lifespan to another, this kind of anger and hatred from very subtle kind of intensity, left unchecked, will become acute, so that in future lives they erupt into serious trouble, culminating in serious conflicts and hatred with each other. How could this be? What is the reason, and how does that happen?
所以呢，这个经文再继续讲啊，是什么原因呢？就是因为世间之事经文讲世间之事呢，更相患害，虽不及时呢，应急相迫，然寒毒息怒，结愤精神。他就是说，因为我们世间的一些人呢，他所做的事情形式呢，都是会来互相来患害的。虽然呢，他不及时立刻呢，互相来攻破，就是互相来攻击呢。可是呢，他心里面呢所含的这个毒啊，除去这个怒气呢，他而且呢结机对这个会使精神来愤怒，来结集愤怒的这个精神。
When that kind of hatred is harbored, we start bothering each other through our worldly interaction and through worldly matters. So even though it's not something that may immediately happen, and that we leave them unchecked and unresolved, ultimately this kind of energy becomes poisonous, leading to extreme anger, and becomes a spirit that is all bound up and ready to erupt.
所以呢，继续在讲这个为什么舍与则合。他说因为呢，会自然的克事，不得相离经文讲自然克事不得相离，皆当对立，更相报护。所以呢，就是讲说，这个自自然然呢，你的意识里面呢，你就会有这样子的这个意识，然后呢，会不得相离不得不要会相离，而且呢，会来升起这个对立的变成来互相保护。所以这个就是在讲舍与则合的这个原因。
Our consciousness become entangled, and we have a hard time separating them, and they start driving us, and then ultimately leading to mutual revenge.
所以呢，我们今天晚上的这个 lecture， 这个晚上的这个经文呢，就是说释迦牟尼佛来告诉弥勒菩萨，我们世间人呢，最重要呢，不要含毒，就是息怒，不要含毒呢，就是说你不要有这个坏心息怒呢，就是来 有这个脾气啊、怒气啊，你放在心里的这个脾气啦，不要，那这样子，这个没有这个含毒跟戏怒呢，那我们的这个家庭啦、父子啦、夫妇啦、朋友、亲属呢，都会互相敬爱，这个是一个做人的这个根本呢。
So overall, the Buddha discussed this with Maitreya Bodhisattva, the Buddha to be, that indeed we shall be very careful and never let this kind of poisonous anger accumulate within ourselves in ending up storing a lot of energy of anger, leading to bad temper. And truly, amongst all the people that we're related to, we're close to, be it relatives or friends, we must always, foremost, be mindful to be respectful of each other and have regards for each other. This really is the most basic of human conduct. And if we all adhere to it, the community, the country will become prosperous and harmonious.
对了，就是说我们把人的根本做好，我们的社会、国家都会兴隆和平的。这个一个是我们做人的这个。然后呢我们今天礼拜六嘛，然后这个礼拜四就是前2天啦，17号呢，我们早课的时候，我们都是都在念南无东方药师琉璃佛，这个就是说我们要来修习这个药师佛这个法门。那这样子呢，我们修习这个法门呢，它是可以因为你念早上念东方药师佛，东方那边就是刚好一天起来太阳起来的地方，所以我们来念南无药师佛这样子。
So with that in mind, we like to pick up where we left off last Thursday. The last time we studied this sutra, during that lecture we mentioned Medicine Master Buddha, who is to the east of us, and that we discussed his focus is to help us eradicate all the karmic obstacles that we run into, and such as the kind that we accumulated over the eons because we did not maintain a peaceful mind. Of course, the Buddha being from the east represents the beginning of a day, and that's why in the morning, part of our morning ceremony is to be mindful of the Medicine Master Buddha to the east, so that he can help us eradicate sickness, sufferings.
他这个你念药师佛呢，你可以来拔除一切的这个业障你什么业障他都可以拔除掉。然后呢，来灭罪呢，往东方，往生去东方，而且呢，你不想去东方，他还可以送你去西方，极乐国那里，这个都有这样子的这个来他可以送你去。然后呢，第二个呢，你诵他的这个咒，诵 这个咒呢，可以除病。你诵他的这个名字呢，可以除病、离苦得乐。就你有什么病害，你就诵他，因为他，药师佛他是在我们的原生堂那边的这样子。
So this Buddha, when we're mindful of him and gather around his vows, number one, he'll indeed help us eradicate our offenses to the point that if we wish to, we can gain rebirth at his Buddha land to the east of us. And since Buddhas are extremely generous with their offerings, that if we were to be mindful of this Buddha, but we want to go to the Pure Land to the east, to the west of us, he will help us accomplish our goal as well. It doesn't matter. And of course, certainly in this life, reciting his name, be mindful of him, reciting his mantra can help us cure diseases and sickness.
所以呢，这个药师他是药师佛，是消灾延寿的，然后呢，他这个是一个梵音啊，他的梵音是毗沙斯吉卢，毗沙斯吉卢，这个是我知道我们十法师他都有在唱，吉达用吉达在唱这个毗沙斯什么时候，所以这个毗沙斯吉卢就是药师佛。
His mantra, of course, starts with Bisashi, and the Venerable Heng Shi has set it to music, and but that is a very powerful mantra to help us eradicate calamities and sickness.
所以这个药师佛呢，他是算大医王佛，那所谓佛，我们称佛啊，也是释迦牟尼佛，我们也是称他为无上医王，因为他是来拔除所有众生的一个你有什么苦，他都是来拔除众生，所以呢，他有48000法门的这个算你有什么苦，他都可以来对治，所以跟药师佛也是跟佛一样的无上医王。
For this reason, we honor Medicine Master Buddha as the great healing king, the king that is dedicated to healing us. Now, of course, in the same vein, the Buddha that appear in this world, Shakyamuni Buddha, we also honor him as a supreme king of healing. In fact, he dispensed 48,000 different kinds of Dharma door to help us guard against and eradicate calamities and diseases. So both are great kings of healing.
所以呢，我们的这个在这个世界上的这一切众生呢，他可以说呢，都是在这个惑业这个苦啊，就是说迷惑这个苦业苦里面的这个病呢，所以呢，我们的身心呢都充满着这些病，然后呢，病可以用药 来治疗。那心病呢，那就要用法药来对治。
That these two Buddhas are so focused on helping us through these kind of difficulties is because they clearly see that all the living beings are born from karma and are inherently born with tremendous amount of suffering. This is like people who are sick. Our entire existence is filled with this kind of lack of satisfaction and lack of fulfillment. And the Buddhas help us two ways. One, of course, is medicine that actually heal the body, but more importantly, our mind that is off has to be healed by something else, and that's Dharma, the teaching of the truth.
所以呢，我们有一段这个故事呢，就是普贤菩萨来命这个善财童子呢去山上采药，因为呢这个世间的病，你就用世间的药来对治，那你心病就用法药，所以呢，他就命令这个善财童子去山上采药。
In fact, the story of between the Bodhisattva, universal worthy, and the youth, the youth good wealth, when during their conversation, the Bodhisattva advised this youth to go up to the deep mountains and pick medicinal herbs to help people, but of course those are the special kind of herbs, the kind that heals our mind.
所以呢，他就叫善财去采药，凡能够采的药的草木呢，草木上的这个药你都可以来采回来，但是呢，善财童子呢，他打遍了所有的这个山里面呢，都徒手而归啊，就是说都没有办法采。因为整个山里面呢，都扫墓呢那么多，他不晓得要怎么样子，就徒手而归，就没意思说都没有采，没有办法采。
So when the youth good wealth went up to the deep mountains to pick herbal herbs for medicinal purposes, he was told by the Bodhisattva, just go and look for them. Anything that's useful, bring them back. Well, unfortunately, this young man went up and came right back and said, I was not able to pick any, and the reason is the entire mountain is covered with medicinal herbs.
所以呢，普贤菩萨又命令他，你再进去山里面呢，将非药的，刚才讲所有的药你都可以采来，现在非药不是药的，你都把它采来，然后呢，这个善财童子呢，他也进山里面呢，他也是空手而归啊，他也是没有采到什么药这样子。
So the Bodhisattva said to the young man, says, okay, then why don't you go again and this time pick herbs that are not medicinal in nature and go get me a bunch. The youth went up to the mountain, came back empty-handed again. So the Bodhisattva said, what happened? And the youth great well says, this time I see the entire mountain covered with herbs that are not medicinal, which is why I don't know where to begin picking them.
对，就是说他看到满山都是非药，他真的没有办法怎么样子来采这个药，他没有办法，从这个事情，这个药跟不是药呢，都是用我们的心来看的，满山都是药，或者是都不是药来看呢，满山也都不是药，所以这个知道这个药跟非药呢，就是说你要看什么，看怎么样子来看待。像医生的话呢，他就知道说，鼻霜呢也可以来当药，可以来治疗人。那你不得当的人生你没有把这个病人的这个看好，你用人参给他吃，也是会死人的，所以这个人参也是会死人。所以这个用药呢，就要看这个医生得当或者不得当。
So why is that? It turns out it all depends on the person's mindset. When the mindset is upon herbal medicine, then the entire mountain becomes covered with herbs that are medicinal in nature. Whereas when our mind is seeking herbs that are non-medicinal in nature, we immediately see the entire mountain covered by that kind of plants. So the key is whether we can say something is medicinal and healing in nature or not. It depends on the doctor, the healer's attitude and his mindset, whether it's correct or incorrect. When the mindset is correct, is on target and on point, that even arsenic can become a healing medicine. Whereas if the mindset is wrong, then even ginseng can put somebody to death.
像我们这个人我们现在生长这个成住坏空的这个世界，我们人现在是在成住坏空这个世界里面呢，当然也是有生老病死，生老病死。那这个生老这个你没有修行，这个生死会不断，会有生死不断。但是你在生的时候呢，像我们在生的时候，有父母、妻子、朋友、家族、社会种种关系。假如说有这个来学习这个药师消灾延寿这个法门呢，那我们就可以来得到这个资深的这个事情啦。所以呢，我们的生的问题就解决了。
In many ways, we look at our life just like the world that we're dwelling in goes through constant changes. Our life forms, we dwell in a lifespan that within it our life start to go into decay. Ultimately, we become nothing but emptiness. this kind of cycle, this kind of birth, death, death and birth kind of cycling is incessant, is continuous. And we know that death is the beginning of another lifespan, and the beginning of a lifespan is also the beginning of our demise at the end. So this kind of incessant circle of life and death, even though while we're alive we have close relationship with parents, spouses, friends, relatives, we shall treasure this span and learn from the medicine master Buddha to how to make the best of it while we're here, so that we can accumulate and perform all sorts of things that are beneficial to lives, not just our own, but everybody else that are related to us. And that is the best way to deal with this incessant cycles of birth and death.
所以，另外呢，它像我们人啊，刚才讲生啊，我们现在讲死啊，人死了之后呢，我们做好事的就随着善业，然后去往生，然后呢做恶业的就会到恶业去。那好的，像我们会到天上，或者回来人间；坏的呢，去恶鬼畜生地狱。所以这个就是说，我们要来佛教要来出世间来修行，就是说要我们要超越六道轮回这样子。那这个就是说来修行阿弥陀佛法门，那就可以来得到去净土那边。那这个死的问题也就解决了。
Now, of course, we have to pay special focus to death, because whatever we've done in this lifespan, if we accumulated plenty of good deeds, it's going to lead to rebirth that are beneficial to us. Whereas if we have accumulated tremendous amount of bad deeds, then we know the outcome is not going to be desirable. We're going to be born into the three evil paths of hungry ghosts, animals, and even the hells. So we're lucky that we're learning Buddhism because it teaches a way to get out of this kind of cycle, ultimately transcending the world and transcending these compelling cycles of birth and death. And of course, among all the Dharma doors we've spoken about, the Dharma door of Pure Land is superior because with the help of Amitabha Buddha, we can be reborn in his country and be able to learn how to end the fundamental problem of life and death.
所以呢，我们今天有幸在这个学习到这个消灾延寿药师佛，还有阿弥陀佛，生净土，所以我们这个生死两个大事呢，都有办法来解决啦。这个是我们今天非常幸运的 我们的做佛弟子的，我们都有这个2个法门来学习。
So of course we're extremely lucky because now we also heard about the Buddha to the east of us, the medicine master Buddha, who is also dedicated to helping us get out of this cycle. And of course, in the case of medicine master Buddha, he also teaches us how to protect ourselves when we are still alive. Whereas the Buddha Amitabha to the west of us is more focused on establishing a pure land so that at the end of our life we can go there and study vigorously and quickly to end this cycle of birth and death.
所以呢，我们今天中午我们也有讲到印光大师的开示啊，就是说，有一些人呢，他是大通家哦，他说他什么都通的，然后呢，这一些人呢，佛说他是很可怜的，因为呢，他用他的这个算一些知识呢，来知道说，哎呀，这个净土法门啦，这个是老太婆的法门啦，这个就把它看清了，所以呢，他甚至于还叫人家不要去学习，这个就是真的大错特错的这个可怜虫，释迦牟尼佛讲的这个可怜虫。
Now, of course, speaking about the Pure Land is such a seemingly simple and easy to follow Dharma door. There's a danger to it. This afternoon, when we discussed the teaching of the Patriarch Yin Guang, the great master Yin Guang, the last Patriarch of Pure Land, he cautioned us that seemingly simple as it is, there's a trap there. If someone becomes too smart and think that it's such a simple thing, then we don't have to really follow it. It's for old ladies to follow. It's for people who are especially a little bit more learned. It's just too simple for us. Well, the Patriarch said, be very careful with that kind of attitude. It's absolutely harmful. And this is a person that is skewered and poisoned by his worldly knowledge and becomes arrogant and ignorant. The Buddha calls this kind of people truly pitiable.
好，我们关于这个药师佛还有阿弥陀佛，这个我们就讲到这里。我们要来继续来讲完这个月光王，国王啊，他守他的就是布施他的头，的这个后面的故事，我们想今天可以来再跟大家来分享这个故事。
So that concludes our discussion about means, the beneficial means of dealing with our inherent challenge of incessant birth and death. Let's now pick up the story that we've been talking about for quite a few sessions now, the story of the King Moonlight. And of course, to remind everyone, this tremendous king had at one point already practiced such tremendous danya, giving, that during his practice towards Buddhahood, he had already given up 999 head of his own head to fulfill that as part of his cultivation. And of course, the story is about the last one. He had made a vow that if at 1,000 times of this kind of giving for the benefit of living beings, he would fulfill his vows. And so the last time we talk about his giving up his last of 1,000 heads.
对，这个就是说，我们上次讲到，他去他的花园后面啊，然后把头发绑在这一棵树上，然后呢，叫那个婆罗门来砍他的头，还真的他把他砍了，刚才讲了999个头，再加上这一个呢，就1000个头了，所以呢，他就是又布施他的头来成佛道，他成佛道就是还要再回来度众生，这个是他的本意啊，这样子。那我们今天继续讲这个婆罗门把他头砍了以后，还在地上踩一踩，然后还嫌他臭，这样子的后面的故事，我们继续来讲。
Of course, the demand of his 1,000 head came from this Brahmin who was on a mission by another king, the king that was jealous of this great king. And so the Brahmin says, okay, if you want to give it up, I'm going to tie your head on the tree with your hair. Upon doing that, he lopped the great king's head off. And not only that, this evil person stepped on the head and complained about the smell of the head. So that's where we left last time.
然后呢，他这个婆罗门呢，他把头丢了以后，因为很臭啊，他就丢了以后呢，他就去别的地方。那去别的地方，人家看到他呢，就讨厌他，不给他饭吃啊，各方面呢，他就变成说，没有得吃，身体非常的饥饿，非常的这个萎悴，然后也非常的苦恼，所以呢，这样子的事情就发生了。
Now, of course, after such horrific act, this Brahmin, with such a horrible attitude, upon finishing his crazy act, he left, and suddenly everybody heard about what he did to a great king. People became accused him of being inhumane, and no one even gave him any food offering, and to the point that he became greatly hungry and became dissipated, and he was in a great deal of suffering.
而且呢，他在路上呢，就有听到消息呢，知道这个这个嫉妒的国王叫做比摩县王啦，他已经命终了，他已经死了，他死了，非常的失望，他就是说，是他要给比摩县王来做的事情，他非常的这样子事情发生呢。他知道以后呢，他非常的懊恼，然后呢，他心也就裂成7分了。他的心里面呢，他的这个身体呢，先裂成7份，去分开来这样子，然后吐血 就死掉了。
And along the way, as he was returning to report to the other king, the 比摩善王 king that had sent him to commit such a horrific act, he heard that king had just died. So he knew that his mission, even though accomplished, is for naught because the person that sent him to do this, who was going to reward him, is no longer there. So he was greatly regretful and certainly tremendously anguished by the turn event, to the point that his heart broke apart into 7 sections, just blew up, and he spit blood and died himself.
所以呢，这个比摩善王跟他呢2个人呢都命里面呢都堕到这个阿比地狱去了。阿比地狱，他是那边是阿比地狱是很苦的，看不到阳光啊这些的。
Now, of course, with evil people such as King Bimosan, the instigator of this murder, and also this Brahmin who committed the act, when these people are at the end of their life, we know the path in front of them would also be tremendously difficult. In fact, both of them descended deep into the hells, into the Avicii hells that are incessant in terms of suffering.
那这个月光王的这些呢，臣子啊、臣民呢、大臣啊、人民呢，他们来思念这个国王的恩惠呢，有的死了以后呢，都得到升天，得到升天去了。
Now, of course, back into the King Moonlight's country, the king that gave up his head to accomplish his goal, the people who supported him, who missed him, who were his faithful subjects. Some of them died because of heartbreak, being brokenhearted. All of them were reborn into the heavens.
所以呢，他跟阿难讲啊，这个经典啊，在就是说，你知道阿难啊，这个当时的月光王啊，就是我释迦牟尼佛，那时候呢，那时候月光王就是我。
So at this point, Shakyamuni Buddha, of course, this entire story was the Buddha relating this story to Ananda, the Venerable Ananda. He said, Ananda, you know what? That King of Moonlight at that time is nobody but me. That was me. And today, I am the Buddha, but back then I was the King Moonlight.
然后呢，这个比摩善王啊，这个嫉妒的这个国王呢，就是波旬，他这个就是波旬，就是那个魔王啊。
Whereas that evil king Bimosan, who was so jealous of me at that time to the point of wanting me dead, and sending this Brahmin to ask for my head. That person is Bosun, the king of evils of today.
那个婆罗门呢，他 就是调打就是就是那个不是他跟他作对的那个嘛，那个披头打的，对，
Whereas that Brahman that committed the deed is nobody but my cousin people Dharma.
披头打斗，就是那个婆罗门。然后呢，这个树啊，这个树神啊，因为他把他这个头发绑在这个树上面呢，那这个树神呢，就是目犍连啊。
Whereas the spirit of the tree that refused to be part of this murder, that tree spirit today is Maugliyayana, one of my great disciples.
然后呢，大业大臣啊，我们讲啊，大业大臣他那个要来砍他的头，然后这个国王说啊，你不要阻挡我，因为我要成佛道，然后他听了以后，这个大业大臣呢，也就死了，他因为是伤心死了，那这个死呢，那就是舍利弗，因为舍利弗讲啊，他不忍心来看到我死所以他要比我先死，所以这个就是舍利弗，是大业大臣。
And my great minister, the minister Great Moon, who saw that I was determined to give up my head, was so brokenhearted that he said, if you're going to die, let me die first. And that great minister is today's Sariputra, my foremost disciple.
Yeah. 所以呢，他因为他不忍心看我先死，所以他就入涅槃，先灭度了，这样子，他整个故事就差不多说完了，那这个阿难呢，当时的阿难啊，还有所有的弟子呢，都听这个佛说这个故事，就非常的悲喜，有的悲，然后又有欢喜，所以呢，来这样子来共同来赞叹，这个功德，如来的功德是那么奇特，所以呢，他们就共同来修行，所以有的当时就得到了这个四果。
And Sariputra not only during that time decided to leave before me, even today, as he sees that even the body of a Buddha eventually would enter nirvana, he also could not bear to see it. He decided to enter nirvana himself first. So the Buddha finished this horrifically shocking story, and upon hearing the tangled web of lives and the entanglement of human lives through this incredible story, the worthy Ananda and all the rest of the disciples was going through a tremendously mixed feeling of both feeling pity, feeling sad, but yet understanding the things, how things work. They're also very joyous, and they together praised the Buddha's incredible merits and virtue and his commitment to even doing something that is strange and tremendously unusual as part of his long cultivation towards Buddhahood, and seeing how much work that is, these disciples resolve to practice themselves and cultivate themselves even more. As a result, many obtain the fourth root, the Arhathood.
好，就是说，所以呢，有的呢，就发心真正来修行真正的这个道，修道的，然后呢，大家都非常来欢喜，来敬戴，来敬佩，来爱戴，所以这个就是《玄疑经》里面的第6卷的这个故事，月光王的故事。那这个故事整个大概就到这里结束。
So not only so many attained liberation through arhatship, many also brought forth the unsurpassed mind to truly pursue the way. Everybody became rigorous, and because they have this new attitude, everyone was greatly joyous and vowed to adhere and dedicate themselves to learning the Dharma and doing the same thing. So this whole story, this very strange story, came from a sutra called Worthies and Deluded, the Sutra of Worthies and Deluded Beings, and it's from chapter 6.
Yeah, 所以呢，我们也可以了解到这个最后面来，你看像这个目犍连，还有舍利弗，还有阿难，还有所有的弟子，这个大家都是很有缘，都是善缘的，大家在一起来修行，这个佛有1200个弟子常常在一起修行，这个都是结佛缘、结好缘的。
So these disciples led by Mahamaugliyayana, Sariputra, Ananda, etc., all 1,200 of these disciples of the Buddha, that's how they learn. That's how they learn to conduct themselves with speeches that are good and with cultivations that are rigorous and focused.
所以呢，佛他有3个无缘不度他第一个，你没有佛缘的，他不会在一起，他不会度你。第二个呢，佛他不会度尽所有的众生，众生那么多，跟他有缘的他才会度，那没有缘的他不会跟他度，所以呢，他不会度尽所有的众生。第三个呢，你带来的定业呢，他佛不会跟你转，佛不转定业的，所以这个佛有三不能啦，这个大家可以要了解这个。
So a Buddha appears in the world to cross over living beings from suffering to the shore of no suffering, of liberation. But yet the Buddha's abilities to do so are limited to what he can do. And there are definitely 3 situations in which the Buddha cannot do anything about it. The Buddha cannot cross over and teach people who have not tied up conditions with him, who have not had precondition to learn from him. The Buddha certainly cannot cross over all the living beings because they are boundless in number. And the Buddha cannot dissipate, eradicate people's karmic forces that have been set by themselves. This kind of concrete karmic result, there is nothing the Buddha can do.
好，这个是关于这个缘分的这个。另外呢，提到这个树神呐，树神，那这个你像我们9号公路那个红木禅林，那边呢都是千年大木，千年树，所以呢那边呢千年树呢，当然有很多的树神在那里修行，所以呢仙公上人就是说要把那个地方买下来，就是说不要给人家乱砍，因为有一些人呢，他为了利益啊，他就来跟你砍树，他仙公上人他买下那个地方，就是说不要来砍树，不要给人家来乱砍，这样子，因为这个很不容易的，这个千年树木不容易。
You know, when we bought property down south in the redwoods near the coast,
Redwood Vihara,
the redwood Vihara, that there, of course, in that place there are many large trees, and many, maybe even 1,000-year-old. This kind of trees definitely will have spirits residing on them and cultivating. And that was actually one of the motivation for the master, the venerable master, to buy the property so that he can protect these ancient groves of trees, because for them to survive such a long time is certainly not easy, and we shall do our very best to protect them.
Yeah. 还有在那里呢，红木禅林呢，你的行为要非常端正，因为那边都有那个树神在看的，所以呢，你不可以在那里做不正当的行为，所以这个是我们修行人也要非常注意的。
And of course, with such a large number of tree spirits in that location, our own conducts have to be proper. We better watch out and never commit anything that's offensive, simply because there's so many of them watching us.
好，我们今天晚上要特别来介绍因为我们介绍过东方药师琉璃佛，那我们的这个是在延生堂，另外我们往生堂的堂主当然是阿弥陀佛，另外还有一个就是地藏王菩萨，所以呢，像这个地藏王菩萨，我们今天就把他请来这里，地藏王菩萨。我们还有那个地藏王的这个那个叫什么算那个叫什么手杖啊，地藏
西藏
哦，西藏对，可不可以拿过来给大家看一下？西藏，我们的这个西藏，在这里，这个西藏蛮重的，这个就是地藏王那的西藏，这个他这个都有地藏王，你地藏王菩萨的话，他这个都是有西藏的，西藏的作用当然它是镇法灵，然后呢就是镇 给一些魔鬼啊这些的，然后呢，最重要就是来金须啊，这个叫做金须藏呢，要震开地狱门的，它最重要的地狱门呢，它可以来造错给你去天堂路的，所以我们等一下我们来讲一下地藏赞的里面就有了 ，OK 好。
So as we near the end of this lecture, we have been, of course, introducing over the last couple of lectures the records of the medicine master Buddha to the east of us. So he's one of the Dharma hosts in this way place. On the other side, we have another group of Dharma hosts. Of course, and that is the hosts that are in charge of another area of our hall, and that's the area of helping people to be reborn into proper places. And the host over there, of course, is Amitabha Buddha, but there's a Bodhisattva there that we would like to discuss a little bit more. And of course, that is the Earth Store Bodhisattva. This Bodhisattva, as you can see in front of me, holds a long staff made of tin. And this staff, when he shakes it and when he stakes it on the ground as a symbolic gesture, when that happened, sounds were made by the rings off the top of this staff. When that happens, even the gates of hell opened up for living beings to hear him. And then he can use the same staff to point the way to better existence, such as heavenly existence. So we would like to talk a little bit more about his records.
所以呢，我们在诵《地藏经》的最后呢，都会来唱这个地藏赞的。那我想我们的时间一些问题，我们就用念的好了。我们这个藏赞我们来念这个给大家，我们大家一起来念这个赞。地藏菩萨妙难伦，化现金融处处分。好，我想我们稍微来解释一下，地藏菩萨呢，他就是他的这个妙法，这个妙呢是讲妙法很难论，就是很难讲的，这个非常奇妙。他化现金融，就是说他可以来给所有的众生呢，好像来把这个金钱给所有的众生来化金呢，化现金融。处处分，就是说到处来分他的这个金子，其实就是说他到处去救人了，就是来做一些妙法的事情了，这样子。那下面呢，他三土六道闻妙法，你知道我们三土就是说地狱恶鬼畜生，六道就是一直佛道，一直到我们的这个。人啊，这些天道啊，这些总共六道，声闻啊，或者是佛这个菩萨这些总共六道，他都是来给这些来听妙法的。那速生十类蒙慈恩啊。这个四生啊，当然我们知道四生就是胎卵湿化，胎生像我们就是生小孩子胎生，卵像那个鸡蛋啊这些卵， 那施呢就是在水里面的。那化身呢就好像是天上啊，这些都是化身的，还有下地狱啊，这个都是化身的。那十类呢，十类就是四圣啊，就是说佛菩萨、缘觉声闻。那十类四圣加上六凡，六凡就是说天人啊、阿修罗啊，这个三道，还有三恶道、地狱、恶鬼、畜生，这个总共呢就是10类人呢，他都是给你来蒙受他的恩典，你都可以蒙，只要你跟他修行，跟他念他的佛号，念他的赞。等一下我们会有给大家来听这个咒他的一个咒语啊，这个所以呢，你念他的咒语，你都可以得到他的好处的。
And there's a praise for the Earth Store Bodhisattva. It goes like this: the Earth Store Bodhisattva wondrous beyond understanding, beyond comprehension. He is able to transform his golden countenance and appear in all sorts of places, such that the 3 evil paths, the 6 ways of rebirth, all the living beings in those paths can hear his wondrous Dharma. The 4 kinds of birth, be it from a fetus, from eggs, or from moisture or transformation. In fact, all 10 possibility of rebirth from the 4 stages of Buddha, Bodhisattvas, arhatship, and singular enlightenment, the four kinds of sagely paths, and the 6 kinds of rebirth that human beings go through, they all benefit from his compassionate blessing.
好，然后呢，他下面再讲这个地藏赞在讲啊，明珠照彻天堂路啊，他这个地藏王菩萨他手上都拿着一个明珠，这个明珠呢，它就是来照明往天堂的路，就是说三途六道呢，然后你听到他的这个妙法以后，你修行地藏法门，然后呢，你就可以他引你去天堂的路上。然后刚才讲的这个金溪啊，它这个是西藏啊，这个黄金的西藏呢，它是可以来震开地狱门的，就是来把地狱门打开，那些恶鬼畜生这些呢，能打开来，这样子，然后你来修行他的这个法门呢，他打开来以后就可以到天上去了。
He holds a large jewel that's bright, with which he shows us the way to beneficial rebirth, in fact, the road to the heavens. And of course, his golden staff he used to shake open the doors of the hells.
所以呢，累世姻亲呢来蒙接引啊，不只是我们自己呢，还有你累世，就是说从以前的这个恩亲啊，这些父母、祖父母这些的，他 都可以接引，因为你修行，这个他都可以把你接引。所以呢，去9年，就是说莲花那边呐、台畔呐，来礼拜这个畜生呐，礼拜地藏王菩萨，这个是都是这些被救济，也闻妙法，然后都是去那边，就这个它有9个莲花台嘛，就9层的这个，这样子来在那里我们来礼拜。所以呢，他是在哪里呢？他是住在九华山，我们知道中国有4大山头，他是在九华山，他算幽冥世界大慈大悲，十轮拔苦，就是来把众生的苦，本身地藏王菩萨，他是在那里的。
By following him and learning from his Dharma, his wondrous Dharma, not only ourselves benefit, but even people who are related to us throughout the past lives shall benefit as well and can follow his lead, ultimately be reborn in the Western land of Amitabha Buddha, be reborn in the nine grades of lotuses. And when we do so, we'll see him as well and be able to bow to him personally. So where does Earth Store Bodhisattva reside currently? Well, of the 4 great mountains in China, one of them is called the 9-flower mountain, Jiuhua. And that's where the Bodhisattva play host. And of course, as related earlier, he is more focused on the underworld and worlds that are kind of hidden from us, that are not good paths.
好，我们来听一下这个地藏王菩萨心咒。好。
Let's now listen to the
摩地娑哈。唵哈哈哈，文三摩地娑哈。唵哈哈哈，文三摩地娑哈。唵哈哈哈，文三摩地娑哈。
internet 上去看地藏王菩萨心咒，这个你常常唱，你心里都会非常舒服，这个是一个心咒的这个。好，我们晚上就讲到这里。其实要讲地藏王菩萨，他有28个利益，到最后要成佛的，还有7个，就是说你修行它有7种利益。那这个我想我们下一次可以来跟大家来讲这个，而且仙公上人他有专门讲地藏王菩萨本愿经，有一大本的这个我们法总他有出版，这个我想说下一次我们可以来根据仙公上人的这个来讲，我们还是一样会安排一些时间，我们礼拜四是会讲无量寿经，中间呢后面呢我们就来加一些仙公上人的讲法，地藏王菩萨的这个故事。其实这个是一个孝经啊，它是最孝顺的，我们为人子弟呢就是要孝顺。好，我们就今天就到这里，阿弥陀佛。好，
阿弥陀佛。
你不换你啊。
So, following the teaching of the Earth-Star Bodhisattva is greatly beneficial. In fact, the 28 kinds or 7 kinds. Nevertheless, we don't have much time to get into it today. Certainly our teacher, the Venerable Master Hua, who of course was a very filial son, and the entire teaching of the Earth-Star Bodhisattva is centered upon this whole concept of filial piety, and which is why the master spent a lot of time explaining the records of this great Bodhisattva. They're all published, and people can certainly acquire volumes and study more to understand more about this wonderful teaching of Earth-Star Bodhisattva.
好最后我们来做一个回向呢。我们今天的回向文，我们用那个算奖金功德书的，对。
Let's let's now return the merits, and today we use a different verse.
好，我们来做功德回向。将尽功德殊胜恒，无边胜福皆回向，不言成利度众生，是望无量光佛刹。十方三世一切佛，一切菩萨摩诃萨，摩诃般若波罗蜜。好，我们来礼佛三拜，就地礼佛三拜。顶礼老和尚，阿弥陀佛，祝大家平安吉祥快乐。